My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. Hit subscribe right now to this channel. We're on our way to 140,000 subscribers. Check out my Federalist article below on AOC's Green New Deal and the political and environmental devastation from the mining of cobalt in the Congo, the mining of lithium in Latin American countries, and the mining of nickel, all used to manufacture electric car vehicle batteries. These are metals needed to make electric car vehicle batteries function. AOC didn't realize, well, Democrats in general didn't realize that the manufacture of these electric car vehicle batteries rely on cobalt, lithium, and nickel, and they didn't understand, or they didn't do any research regarding the indigenous communities that would be decimated if we ramped up production from 5% of U.S. car sales to 100% of U.S. car sales as electric cars. That is below. That's my latest Federalist article below. Check that out. Check out HA's Second Amendment. There was a new upload, an M4, full auto. It's awesome. Check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, two things today that we learned. Number one, Mueller is not going to, we learned this from Rod Rosenstein, okay? Mueller is not going to, the Mueller report is not going to give anyone information on Trump or any other American citizen who wasn't indicted or charged with a crime. Obviously, Trump did not work with Russia. That's absurd. The only people who did work with Russia is Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party. They purchased the Steele dossier that was allegedly compiled with help from Russian intelligence officials, Russian sources. So the Steele dossier was utilized by Andrew McCabe and James Comey and Peter Strzok, and eventually by Mueller. CrowdStrike was also outsourced by Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, by funneling money through her law firm. CrowdStrike is the only company to look at DNC servers, and whether it's the Daily Beast, Vice, Gizmodo, all of them, they say, oh, my Trump is, he's wrong again. You don't need the actual servers. You just need copies of the images. Well, number one, James Comey was denied. Even James Comey was like, yeah, we were denied access. We would have rather had the servers. He was denied access to the DNC servers, and the United States government relied on images, copies of images from CrowdStrike, outsourced by Democrats. Democrats found a third-party tech firm to give copies of DNC servers to the United States government. That's where the indictments of Russian nationals allegedly hacking the DNC came from. That's where the evidence for Russian hacking comes from. Okay? It's a bunch of nonsense. That being said, Rosenstein has stated today, this is in the Washington Post, they are not going to release any information. And Mueller, this is a daily, okay, so the Washington Post, I'll read you, and then I'll read you a Daily Wire article. I'll just read you the Daily Wire right now. Mueller's final Manafort filings are scant on Russia details, never mention Trump or collusion. So they have nothing on Trump. That's number one. They have absolutely nothing because there's nothing, there was no evidence. This is the only investigation in history where there was actually no crime, and they just utilized the investigation to try to find some evidence, some possible evidence of a crime. Doesn't work that way. You investigate a crime. You don't investigate the lack thereof or the lack of a crime. The absence of a crime. Rosenstein, we will count. This is Rosenstein says America should trust Barr's handling of the Mueller report. But if you look at the Washington Post, where's that article I was looking at right now? As debate over Mueller report rages, Rosenstein said Justice Department should not release info on uncharged suspects. Yeah, I actually, perhaps the only thing I agree with Rosenstein on. Of course you don't release info on uncharged suspects. Why would you release info on uncharged suspects? First of all, Trump was not really a suspect. The only reason they looked into him was it was a fabricated, politically motivated investigation. They framed him, and they set up Trump, Flynn, Papadopoulos, all of these people. Manafort actually committed crimes. years before the election. His major crime was a fashion crime, wearing the ostrich feather jacket, or the skin jacket, whatever. But this is the Washington Post today. The Mueller report is going to remain secret. There's not going to be information on Trump. They spent 2 years, ladies and gentlemen, 2 years on nonsense. Absolute, complete, and utter nonsense. They spent 2 years on just a fantasy. Trump never worked with Russia to hack the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated, who now, by the way, just raised $10 million, Bernie Sanders. It's all going to Clinton in 2020. Clinton will eventually get indicted, and she's going to run for president. Either she could get indicted before she runs, and people will still nominate her. She'll still win the Democratic nomination, even indicted. You're talking about a giant cult on the left, okay? You're talking about a gigantic cult. But as debate over Mueller report rages, Rosenstein says Justice Department should not release info on uncharged. Of course not. Rod Rosenstein says that when we look back at this era, we'll be proud, and the president will deserve credit for the folks he appointed to run the department. Doesn't sound like Trump's going to be indicted for colluding with Russia or obstructing justice, which, by the way, is the most absurd notion. How could he obstruct justice when it's his right under the Constitution to fire anyone within the executive branch? The FBI director falls within the executive branch. He wouldn't be obstructing justice because the investigation should never have been started to begin with. It was an unlawful investigation. You can't just simply fabricate a probe and then say, how dare you stop our fabricated investigation into a non-crime and into the possibility that something took place. We must investigate something happening, potentially, possibly. Whereas with Hillary Clinton, there were violations of legal statutes. She transferred special access program and top secret intelligence outside of the United States government. They all know this. In addition to investigations into Strzok and Page, which William Barr has already essentially begun, but he'll start officially very soon. In addition to that, you still have the Clinton Foundation probes that Andrew McCabe lied about. That's still ongoing. That predate Trump. You have the Senate Judiciary Committee with Lindsey Graham looking at Clinton's emails and the Clinton email server, investigating that yet again. That will never, ever be overlooked, because what she did was like an egregious crime. So you're looking at Trump's going to flip the script, so to speak. He's going to turn the tables. He finally has a Justice Department. He finally has a Justice. Like Sessions and Rosenstein were more extensions of the Democratic Party. Rosenstein had no right to start a special counsel. There should be a special counsel regarding Uranium One. They actually, look, President Obama could have vetoed the sale of uranium. He did not. The only person who could have stopped that sale was President Obama. He did not. I wonder why. And then for 2 years they've projected. For 2 years they've peddled nonsense. For 2 years all you've heard was, hey, Trump, the next connect the dots. Papadopoulos spoke to Alexander Downer. Papadopoulos spoke to Mifsud. All of these, Manafort did this and that. Well, who do you think? Okay, first of all, Tony Podesta committed the same crimes as Manafort. Secondly, most of the same crimes. Secondly, he lobbied on behalf of Uranium One, but that's not, money flowed to the Clinton Foundation. Millions. Money went into the Clinton Foundation as the deal was going down. Cash flowed to Clinton Foundation amid Russian uranium deal. That's the New York Times. So when people say, "Oh my God, that's fantasy," that's a conservative, fantasy. No, it's actually in the New York Times. I've just read the Washington Post. Everything I do on this channel is from public record sources, public record knowledge, and every single day I'm being vindicated. And when people say, look, it doesn't matter. Look. The point is this. Bill Clinton met with Vladimir Putin. He met with Vladimir Putin at his home outside Moscow while the deal was going down in 2010. while money was flowing into the Clinton Foundation and there was a bribery and racketeering scandal on U.S. soil regarding the transfer of yellow cake uranium. Yellow cake uranium was transferred outside of the United States government. Uranium One used the export licenses of shipping companies or trucking companies, and that was part of the bribery and racketeering scandal. There was a trucking executive indicted last year. He needs to form a special counsel on this. That has to be a special counsel on the Uranium One deal. You can get a special counsel on Clinton's emails, the Uranium One, Clinton Foundation. I mean, you're talking about the most overt, blatant, corrupt system where Clinton and people around her are overtly breaking laws. Actual legal statutes, that's what James Comey stated. Legal statutes were violated. With Trump, they don't know what he violated, but you know what? It could have been obstruction of justice, even though he had every right to under the IG report because James Comey was insubordinate numerous times. And it wasn't even his call to make. It was Loretta Lynch, who, by the way, met with Bill Clinton to speak about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren, the original fake news story. So it's like, it's never ending. It's mind-boggling. But number one, they're not going to get any information on Trump because he won't be indicted. Number two, the Manafort filing, Special Counsel Robert Mueller's final filings against former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort are likely bad news for Manafort, but may be oddly good news for President Trump. And it goes on to talk about there's no mention of collusion or Trump. Doesn't include, but what the government sentencing document and Manafort's apparent list of transgressions doesn't include is evidence of actual collusion with Russia during the course of the Trump campaign. Potential collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia is never mentioned. Mueller's report is expected in early March, but so far it seems may have little in the way of evidence that the Trump campaign is guilty of collusion, as a number of Democrats desire. Look, it's complete nonsense. It's absolute, complete nonsense. There's not only no mention of collusion in the Manafort fight, because Manafort has nothing to do with Trump-Russia collusion, but there's no evidence of anything. The whole thing was fabricated. And people are like, well, how come they lied? Well, what did they lie about? If Papadopoulos lies about something that has nothing to do about collusion, and it's about a conversation with Downer or whatever, or Mifsud, and it has nothing, and they can't even charge him on anything to do with lying about something to do with collusion with Russia, and he gets like 2 weeks in jail. And Manafort gets indicted on crimes that have nothing to do with Trump-Russia. And Michael Flynn literally that's entrapment. Peter Strzok is part of the investigation. And Peter Strzok set up Flynn, who's an honorable man. He should be pardoned completely by Trump, like tomorrow. Peter Strzok literally states, "We'll stop Trump," in his text message. I mean, the guy literally states that. You have FBI agents literally stating, "We'll stop Trump and we have an insurance policy." You have Andrew McCabe lying about a Clinton Foundation probe because his wife was given hundreds of thousands of dollars from Terry McAuliffe, a Clinton money man, former Virginia governor. You have all of this in plain sight. And then you have James Comey, who's leaking classified memos to start a Mueller investigation, a Mueller probe that leads to nothing but this dumb report. And all the while, you have Clinton, who committed major crimes. Major crimes. And the whole country knows what's going on. And she's running again, ladies and gentlemen. You think they're going to roll with Amy Klobuchar? You think Amy Klobuchar is going to raise $1.2 billion eating a salad with a comb? Yeah, or Warren can't even raise like $2. She failed her DNA test and she drank a beer and everyone was like, "What? Big deal, so you drank a beer." And Bernie's raising money. It's all going to go to... They cheated Bernie. Oh my God. I got to do a segment on this. They cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016. What makes anyone think he's going to win? Especially with a field that pretends to be Bernie Sanders. Like, how does he differentiate himself? Then if Biden was supposed to be this big force, this save the Democratic Party, he would have already decided to run. He might run, but at the end of the day, Clinton's going to come in and say, "Oh, you want me? Oh my God, this is so fantastic. Fine, I'll save the country from Trump." She'll lose again. She'll take the Democratic Party down, descend even further into madness. They'll blame who knows what they'll do, but they won't have the intelligence community this time. Community, quote unquote. You have Clapper, Brennan. These are all people who lied under oath. Comey, who lied under oath. These are the most corrupt officials that Democrats love. And at the end of the day, you'll have nothing. She'll eventually get indicted. Democrats will lose again. In the meantime, we have a Mueller report coming out that will not only exonerate Trump, but it'll show how ridiculous, what a waste of time 2 years was. And now we have a new Cold War with Russia because Democrats fomented this nonsense just because they lost. I mean, you take the term sore loser, like this, they've redefined that term. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe. Definitely check out my Second Amendment channel. My Patreon link is below if you want to support my voice long term. And check out my Federalist article below as well. Thank you so very much.